Why do I like Steven Universe? That is the question. What about this show that makes me come back every time and time again? Well, I guess I'd have to start breaking it down at its core ideas. First, the characters. What about Steven Universe gives me that yes, or that good feeling about the show? What is it? It's none other than the characters. It doesn't take long for you to watch the show and then actually find a distinct personality in between all of the traits of all of the characters in the show. My favorite votes for Steven, but of course he's the main character and is supposed to be likable. If I had to choose a second favorite, it would probably be Garnet, and then past that, it would be Pearl. Now, if you haven't watched the show, you probably don't really know who I'm talking about. And you probably don't even know about the characters on screen. But then again, who hasn't seen these around the internet? Or at least once or twice. Don't lie, you have. Anyways, the best way that I can say is the characters in this show feel genuine. There are a lot of TV shows out there, and a lot of movies. But in a lot of these movies and TV shows, they tend to be, well, less sincere. They don't feel real, or at least they don't feel like you're connected to them. You don't get connected to them like you do with these characters. And that is a masterful way of writing characters. People actually latch onto them because they feel more real. That's why I like the characters. So let's move on to our next segment. Why else do I like it? It's the art. Have you seen this show's artwork? It is beautiful. It's simple, but beautiful at the same time. It's the coloring and the look of all of the characters, the animation, and all of the rest of, well, the feel of the show. The oranges in some of the images, which I should be putting up now, I'm not 100%, but the oranges in some of the sunsetting scenes, and the blues and the nice white vibrant colors and sort of crazy colors that they have in this show just pull it all together. And it really does add to the scene that they're in. Like, for example, we would find out later on in the show about one of our main characters who was sad because of another main character. I'm saying this so I don't spoil anything. But for people who don't already know, they go to a place that they call in the show the Strawberry Battlefield. Now, what about this scene is good? What about this scene in particular right here that is good? It's the colors in that scene that put it together, along with all of, well, of course, the music and the voice acting pulls the show together. But I would bet your bottom dollar that if they didn't do the coloring and the artistry and the backgrounds as good as they do, it probably wouldn't feel like the same show. All of it goes into making these scenes feel effective and powerful. And it's a very, very good tool using when you make a show. Using those sorts of abilities and mastery with art and color really sets the tone. And that's one thing that the show is really good at, is tone. Now, what is the last thing, or the third thing in my little explanation of why I like it? Well, the third thing would be the lore. If you don't know, Western cartoons, for quite a small bit of time, has started to make a shift. It's no longer anime and manga that have complete and other stories with lore, context, and all of these different things that pull it together. And Western media has done so for a very long time, but not for children or children's media. And now that it is not for children, it's for everyone, it's starting to blossom. And I've been, in a sense, calling it for quite a while. Shows like Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Over the Garden Wall, and others have been very good at giving their lore and details of the world that they're in. For example, there's quite a few things that you won't pick up with your first viewing of Steven Universe. And I bet you won't find in the first viewing of Adventure Time. A lot of people may brush it off as it's just the silly, cartoony little kids show. But I'm going to ask you this much. Does any of these topics sound silly or cartoony? Talk about, let's see, rape, abuse, let me think of another one. Alright, that's it. Sex. Yeah. Those little kid things that little kids usually talk about? Didn't think so. Now, of course, this is done in the subtext of the show, and it's not usually overtly shown. It's usually kept in the background and used and disguised with the lore tidbits, and that's a very good way of doing so. I remember my first time seeing a show like Steven Universe, which was Adventure Time, all the way back when it first released. It had such a vibrant cast that I wanted to stay. Now, as a child or a younger child, I didn't quite understand it, and I didn't really get it at first. It was just something fun that distracted me. But as I grew older and grew into my teens, my late teens, and now into my 20s, I can truly say, without a shadow of a doubt, that Adventure Time is freaking crazy. But more on Steven Universe. I should say this much. Why should you try it? I mean, you're probably thinking, yo, Icarus, why you want me to try it? It's just a kid's show. Why should I try watching a kid's TV show? It's a cartoon, man. You're taking it way too serious with this art direction and characters and story and all that and lore. TV shows for kids don't have that kind of stuff. That's stuff you find in, like, Lord of the Rings or something. And I would say you were right if you went back maybe 10, 15 years. But the show does have all of that. And here's one common misconception that I'm gonna squash with you and be a little real with you guys about Steven Universe. In the best way that I can say this, Steven Universe isn't a kids' TV show. Steven Universe, in all sense and purposes, is a family show. Like, say, the movies like The Croods or WALL-E, that's what Steven Universe is. It was meant for children and adults to access it and not feel ashamed societally to watch it. The show's about bringing people together and about love. And I would say, if you can't try something out, if you can't expand your horizon, well, shouldn't you try? But that's all that we have for today. I would like to thank you all for watching, and this is going to become a new series on my channel. This is the Why I Like Steven Universe, and it will become a Why I Like series. I'd like to proudly announce this. I have a couple more that I have coming up, and if you guys want to, shoot a suggestion down in the comments. But I've been talking for way too long, and I think that it's about time for me to get going. So, Icarus, peace out. Bye.